we were the first ones from Channel 7 to go down to Brockton in the Petronelli Brothers gym. And I've said this many times. I knew Marvin when he had hair. I actually have interviews on film and pictures of Marvin and I together before he had shaved his head.
Wow.
And so we were the very first ones in on Marvin before anybody else realized he was destined for stardom. I think the first fight I covered that he did was against somebody named Willie the Worm Monroe from Philadelphia. And he, of course, crushed him. And so as a result of being first in, I became very good friends with Marvin and very good friends with Goody and Pat Petronelli. So we always had the inside scoop as Marvin ascended up the ranks of the middleweight division, who he was going to fight next and when he was going to fight next. And I would go to his training camp and he would give us all these exclusives. When we got to Caesar's Palace for the big fights, Marvin would sit down with me and only me because of our history of going back together. So that's sort of how it all began.
That's so cool. And you had a story, I remember, something about a referee or something around Hagler.
It was in fact, people ask me, what is the favorite sporting event you've ever covered in your life? And I've covered a lot, but without question, the Hagler-Hearns fight, April 15th, 1985, Caesar's Palace, was by far the most entertaining, most amazing, most, I don't want to say life-changing, but eye-opening thing I'd ever seen in the world of sport. And it was this build-up of a couple of weeks. We went out to Las Vegas, stayed at Caesar's Palace, did all the training stuff. And it was such a build-up, and there was such animosity between Hearns and Hagler. And I'm sitting ringside, I should say. John Madden is on my right. Bob Newmeyer, the late Bob Newmeyer from Channel 4, is sitting on my left. And we're sitting there and watching the end of the preliminary, and they're starting to do the introductions, and they're bringing them in. And Newmeyer looks at me and says, "Are you nervous?" I said, "Yeah, I can't believe it." I said, "I'm not even involved here, and I'm nervous." And it was just an absolute rock'em sock'em robot. If you've seen the fight, and if you haven't seen the fight, look it up on YouTube. It's worth it. 3 rounds. Won't take you long. And it was amazing. Marvin punched Tommy in the face. Tommy punched Marvin in the face. Hagler punched Hearns 3 times in the face. Hearns punched Marvin 3 times in the face. I mean, back and forth they went. And finally, I believe in the second round, a giant cut opened right between Marvin's eyes. And blood is streaming down his face. And he is wailing away at Hearns. And Hearns is wailing back at him. And the blood's pouring down Marvin's face. And Richard Steele stops the fight and takes Marvin over the corner. And he brings the ring doctor in. Dr. Flip Homansky was his name. And he wipes the blood off and he looks at the cut. And Richard Steele, the referee, looks at Marvin and says, "Marvin, can you see?" And Marvin says, "I ain't missing him, am I?" And Richard says, "No, you're not missing him. Fight." But Marvin knew that he had to get him out of there within the next round. And he certainly did that.
Did he knock him? Did he end up knocking Hearns out?
Oh, yes, he did. He knocked him out. The most amazing prize fight of all time. And I can say that without fear of contradiction.